Good afternoon. I know it's really tough after being in Goa, after lunch, sumptuous but heavy, and the spouse is pinging you and saying what's happening next. I hope, as was said, we're going to make this interactive. I'm not going to speak much. I'll just set up the. I think the Ford presentation really does help me because a little bit of what I'll set up is to articulate as how we see the GCC journeys, and you can correct me, but this is an external in view, it's analyst in view. We're clearly seeing that as GCCs evolve, and in some cases, as they come into India now, there is this whole journey, and that was articulated in the last presentation, to either build capabilities, whether those capabilities are in new technology, in new processes, is to build digital transformation, continue to focus on cost optimization. It never goes away. We can always say cost is not important, but I don't think so we're going to be relevant if suddenly our GC centers cost the same as in the US. So the cost innovation is critical, and hence drivers of cost innovation. And especially more so if you have been there for 8, 10 years. You've already had the first bite of the apple, as they say. You've got to find that second bite of the apple, or you've got to find another apple. And then you're looking for growing your strengths, your capabilities with geographical coverage. This is what we see. Now, as we see this, and I know my colleague just talked about it and said this is the journey they've been. We do, and I think I've talking to a lot of you guys, it's not an easy journey. It is a great aspirational journey. You want to be a service innovation and delivery guy. You want to be in the transformation engine. You want to have the right talent. But everything on the right comes in the way. Not everybody is 16,000 people. Hence, the ability to invest is always restricted. The access to talent, I think she just mentioned it as she was walking off the slide with a question. Talent is a challenge, availability of talent. If you're smaller, if you're 500 people, you're 1,000 people, or even maybe 500 to 700 people, your ability to attract talent, retain talent, and the ability to give them growth paths is challenging. You have legacy platforms and legacy processes. How do you bring that about this whole journey together? When I look at this dichotomy between we want to go there, or we are already there, or we are getting there, and I look at some of the challenges, do believe, as some of you have said, and as the booths outside show, as it shows me standing here with representing Genpact, that there is a great ecosystem of bringing together the GCC leadership, the GCC transformation teams, and the ecosystem of service providers, and obviously startups. And that's really what our session's all about. As I think through, and again, this is our effort of putting to it, and you might have a different view, there are these 5, 6 real levers which become critical in that partnership. What are you looking for? You're looking for an innovation partner. You're looking for people who can help you drive that innovation journey. Create the frameworks, create the journey that's there. Cost optimization never goes away. Whoever said that it goes away is fooling themselves. That's what you get measured every day. Project management. A lot of people here, I know Grant Thompson's here, we're here. There are people like BCG, Bain, who are helping run those projects, manage those projects. Standardization of services. People, a lot of you take people from a lot of the service providers. And then, in some cases, monetization. If I look at this sport, this is how we think about it. This is how we have pictured it and said, these are the services, these are the frameworks, and these are the abilities that you need from a potential service partner to be able to execute that journey. Flexibility, whether that's flexibility in the frameworks, whether it's flexibility in the commercial models, whether it's the flexibility in the ability to ramp up and ramp down people. Global presence. Do I need to do it only in India? Ford just talked about it. There are centers all over. How do we ensure that these services are standardized across the globe? Real expertise. Real expertise, whether that's in process, real expertise, whether that's in technology, real expertise, whether that's in frameworks and best practices, doing it in a cost, and fitting into the culture. Now, we've kind of put these elements together. All this happens, I'll just put the slide out. All this happens in various different models. Data shows that today, GCCs spend about 30 to 35% of what they spend in the country with partners. And hence, it does show that there is a valid partner ecosystem. And I do believe, as I had said in the very first day, you need to bring the best of class. even us as a service provider, we partner with people. We partner with technology players. We partner with consulting companies as required. It's the same from a GCC headset. This really is where we see the market. The idea there here was to, we need to get those slides, please. Can you just play the agenda? The idea was really not for us to talk about it. I'm not an expert, you guys are. You're the ones who are buying these services, you're the ones who are looking for these services, you're the ones looking for how you want to partner. Was to bring you guys together. Some of you were distributed some questions. I think there were 8 questions, if we can pop them up, please. Okay, while these big guys getting the questions up, okay, here are the questions. The way we wanted to run this is, we have 8 questions here. I think about there's 60, 70 people here. I'd like you guys to form groups, 8 groups, maybe two tables like that, 2 like this, 2 like this, 2 like this. I want all of you to pick up one question in that order. So if we can start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pick up the question. The questions are there. If you don't have the questions by any chance, I'll ensure that we get you a printout, or we keep this up there so you can read it. I'd request you to spend about 15 to 20 minutes from now, on discussing these questions and your expectations and the challenges. And then at the end of that, we would require one person from each group to come and present, talk about it, and open it up for questions. I hope the format's visible. Really need this with your participation. I don't think so we can drive it. This is your journey. Like I said, the pages I set up was a outside-in perspective. We're really looking for an inside-out perspective. We're also looking for what should we as service providers, or you as GCCs, expect and get. That's what I really was looking for. If you guys can call out who's 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd really love that. We'll start from here. First 2 groups, right? That's 1, 2.
Can we have the lights on?
Yeah, please. First 2 groups, first row in the second row, please. 2, 3, 4. Who's 5? 5. Who's 6? Okay, 7. 7. We lost people. Come on, guys, come in front. And 8. Who's 8? All right. So if you guys can't see this, I can read it out. One needs to pick up defining why of collaboration. What's the strategic intent versus the tactical need? Why do you need to collaborate? What is driving you to do collaboration? What are the factors that are important? Please pick this up, 20 to 25 minutes. Let's come back on it. Second is obviously governance without bureaucracy, orchestrating the collaboration at scale. How do you take this from saying I need 2 data scientists, or I need 3 app developers, to actually scaling this up to be relevant, to be valuable, to actually create an impact on the stuff? That's the second. How do you build trust between unequal partners? I mean, we are unequal partners in a buyer-seller relationship, but how do you create trust? I mean, as my colleague, as she talked about it earlier, these are significant projects. They have a significant impact on what the enterprise wants to do. In some cases, they impact the top line. In some cases, they impact customer experience. The J.D. Edwards score, maybe in the case of Ford, but these are relevant pieces. How do you make this happen? That's group number 4. The other one is the integration challenge. How do you plug them into the enterprise? More so, this is even more relevant when you start talking about startups. How do you take a point solution? How do you bring it into the enterprise? How do you make it enterprise ready? How do you move this forward? Can you move it down? Thank you. Go up. Can you go up? Thank you. Innovation velocity, finding the sweet spot, and then anatomy of a successful 3-way partnership. If you've done it, I would really hope that group number 6, we can find somebody who's worked with partners at scale, which have been impactful. This was going to be a tough one. I'm just hoping that some of you are there. Then co-creation, from point of proof to platform. How do you co-create? You know, how you're building that IP, who owns that IP, what's the challenge of building that IP, how do you think about that IP? And then obviously a cost and a framework for collaboration. So 8 questions here. I need each one of you to pick up these questions, please. Brainstorm, come up with your point of view, what works, what doesn't work, what are the challenges, what more would you like to see, What are you not seeing coming from that ecosystem? And then we get about 25 minutes from now, we'd like you guys to kind of come back and present that and make it an interactive session. Is that clear? Do all of you have your questions? I don't know. Everybody got the questions? Great. All yours. We can keep the questions up. Can you project it on either side? No. Okay. That's group number 3. Yeah. I can help. Get your group together. Oh, you're there. Who is? Lee, get that group there. That's 3, 2, 4. This is 3. This is 2. Lovely. Whichever group doesn't have the question, let me know, okay? If you guys struggle with the question and getting that, let me know, we get it. What are all these stragglers doing? Get them in front. I think you're 6, right? Ah, that's 6. You have the question. See, now you know you have the question. Yeah. Yes. Who's 7 and 8? Go there. Get there. What group are you guys? No, they're doing 6. Yeah, you're 7. Take 7. Who's doing 8? You're doing? No, you guys are repeating. Hold on, let me. Okay, guys. Just for ease, want to get a show of hand. 1. Who's 1? Okay. Who's 2? Great. 3, 4, 5. That's 5. Okay. 6. Who's 6? That's 6. Who's 7? Come here. Join this group. 7. Or they join you. Who's 8? You got 8. Just want to be certain we get the groups right. How are we looking? Hi, how are we looking, guys? Teams, how's it going? All ready to go? Okay, who's ready to go? We don't have to follow any order. All good to go? All right, maybe. Okay, so why don't I get... Team 1 ready to go? That's 6 is ready to go? What's 6? I think we'll start with 1, get to 6. I'm just looking at the questions. Okay, 1. All good. Let's go. Can you mic them up? Here you are. As a process, my request is hear the points. Would like you guys to question it. Point of view. Each group will have about 4 minutes based on the timing we have. Just keep in mind. Let's go. 3 to 4.
Hey guys, hope you can hear us. All right. So this was my group, like, pretty awesome set of people. Like we had like companies from travel, right? If I remember correctly, to pharma manufacturing, to aerospace. What else? Do we have insurtech? So variety of companies was kind of represented, and we kind of shared our views, very honest views, right? Like how important it is to kind of partner with like startups, as well as like how important is to partner up with like, consultants, right? So I'll just share like, one by one, like what I've captured. I was not very sure like I was the speaker. So I was just like noting it down in the hope that I can pass on. but this turned out to be like, back on me. So let's start.
You were set up. That's how partnerships are.
so so let's start with like Pitney Bowes, right? Like so they're in the business of like kind of digital postage, everything like you can think of like digital shipping, and that's the new term like we kind of learned, right? So they use consultants for like spot projects. Spot projects are like, okay, like there's a finite bit of work, and they want to kind of start at certain point, end at certain point. The management is saying like there's no point like hiring a full-time set of people or a pod. Let's go ahead with the consultant and kind of hire that. From Zinnia, like that's my company. Like it's insurtech, US-based insurtech. Although it's an insurtech, like our legacy is like 150 years old, right? Because the parent company Security Benefits is like 150 years old. So we use like staff augmentation. Zinnia is like it's just a mid-sized firm, 3,000 people. We use consultant partners for like staff-based augmentation. Lot of knowledge which we might not have in space of like compliance, Canadian regulations, so on and so forth. So we'll use like consultants for that, as well as legacy mitigation. 150-year-old company, there are like a lot of things like which you have to mitigate, and we use like consultants for that as well. Vesco. So Vesco Vesco is a great company. Like just learned about like that today. 20,000 people organization. Very critical work they do in like the field they operate in, and they are actually partnering with like startups to the extent that they actually bought a startup to service their job. So they use for accelerators as well as customization and modernization and speed. Sorry, Pfizer, coming to the pharma manufacturing, right? So many pretty much like all of us are familiar with like all the drugs, COVID, like vaccines, so on and so forth. So they use company like ZS Associates, right? Like so that's like one of the pharma consulting for like accelerator as well as customization for a particular market or a particular product. So the next one was like IBT. So IBT is in the space of like aerospace, defense, space. So very, very niche market. So they, their clients are like, Boeing of the world and so on and so forth. So they use actually a startup which came out of like, ex-ISRO guys, right? Like, so it's not a startup like which you can kind of go out and kind of build overnight or something. So they're using like, consultant expertise who are spread across India. So some of them are like, I think like sitting in Gujarat, sitting in like, Karnataka, so on and so forth. And again, like consultant for like customization. Booking.com, like, what we learned, like, they have like cracked the way they hire, right? Like, so most of the hire happens like in-house, but like, they do use like, some consultants for, Booking.com, if you're familiar, like that's for like, hotel booking, airfare booking, so on and so forth. So the properties need to be certified, and they are using consultant to certify those properties. So that's where like, I think Booking.com is kind of using that. So that's my pitch.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead.
There's a question?
You can address the entire group, yeah. They're not getting away.
No, it's not a question, just a point. What I see on the cost and the risk mitigation, what's being mentioned over there. Everything that we do, we definitely have an ROI value-driven case. And this I'm thinking more from a startup perspective. If startup partners on that value driver ROI which is coming out, I think that can be another win. For an example, let's say any solution which requires an XK dollars, and we say that you will get a X plus 50% over the next 4 years. Okay, but nobody confirms, right? So let's say that if we partner with you to have that value realized, and our payback is on the basis of what you realize. So if you achieve that X plus 50%, that's our payback. If you don't achieve, that's fine. We just had a good collaboration and we move away from there. I think that will help a lot because it will help to build a trust on the startups who want to collaborate with GCC to ultimately drive the value for the end business. That's my thought.
Yeah, and shared outcome is the key. I think that's what you are kind of going towards. Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody in the audience that has a view on why else, I just want to ensure we capture all views, would you use a partner? Anybody else there? You're still going to speak? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Is Grip 2 ready? Grip 2 ready to go? Zubin.
Thank you. So we went with the headline, the question rather, governance without bureaucracy, orchestrating collaboration at scale. Before we came to the 2 bullet points, I think it should cover all of it. So I'll talk about governance, what we thought governance was, which could be the one slowing us down, for delivering speed. I think we listed down everything that we have to do. It's a part of the law requirements. So we spoke about if you're a listed entities, you're going to follow law. You spoke about SEC, SEBI, data infosec laws. Sometimes it's the internal SOPs which are required, just an NDA which could be time consuming, but it's a part of the process. So we classified that under governance. We have, when we onboard employees, right, their background verification requirements to exit interviews to be followed, returning of assets, all of those governance which have to be under the bucket of governance or compliance. And to the extent that we don't think that that should add as bureaucracy, that is meant to be done, and there are SOPs or processes so that we execute with speed. The one which we said could be classified under bureaucracy would be depending on how we as an organization are structured. And in most cases, GCCs, you will see have matrixed organizations. There are multiple stakeholders, and I think that kind of slows the process down. But we also spoke about it on how it adds value, because you tend to make a stronger decision, or hopefully the right decision, so that you can then run with it together. If there is a multiple stakeholder team and all of them are building consensus, then automatically you can run with that execution, because everyone has a stake, everyone's contributed to the discussion. I think that kind of can lead to bureaucracy. And the other aspect of it on collaboration, how do you structure for to collaborate, orchestrate to collaborate at scale? I think because of the compliances or the governance, and depending on your structured or your leadership style, which could lead to bureaucracy, there are various aspects. So one of them we spoke about is educating and training people on the cultural nuances of how geographies, processes, different cultures, different countries, different projects, different engineering or non-engineering backgrounds. How do we collaborate? Something on that which could avoid a lot of lack of collaboration if they understood how it is to work with teams together. So I think that was one. And then, of course, building the culture of the organization. I think collaboration by itself is a default, depending on, I think everyone knows this, monkey see, monkey do. You can raise your hand here. Everyone, can you raise your hand up there? Yeah, can you put it on your chin? Can you put it on your chin, please? Yeah, your chin is here, but many put it on the cheek, right? Because it's a monkey see, monkey do. So I think everything there is what the leader does. It's leadership. If the leader's doing it, it's easier to follow. So I think those were the aspects we spoke about. I'll call Divakar to speak about an example he gave on Cisco on how they talk of collaboration.
Thanks, Zubin.
Actually, I don't want to give an example. I want to give a homework for you guys. So these guys were insistent on giving this homework. Go and have a look at Chill, which is a Cisco Hyper Innovation Living Lab. Each word in Chill is really useful. And what is the outcome they have created is, first thing is there were cross-functional teams which came together. They do rapid prototyping. And at the end, objective is customer focus, obviously. But the best part is they created ventures out of it, so that they can be independent, they can be agile, and cannot be subdued under the Goliath called Cisco. Please have a look at this case study. It will be interesting for you guys to learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, And the collaboration aspect, thanks Devakar, we didn't speak about with the vendors or the startups and the GCCs. We gave examples of how we have had opportunities to collaborate with various universities too. And there have been challenges on getting NDAs signed, etc. Here we had that example, but that was one. The other one is leveraging startups for niche projects or certain skill sets which you may not have, and you want to leverage a startup there where you provide your expertise and the ecosystem under which they can operate. It could be also your financial muscle, which they may not have. And I think the last one was saying that when we partner with vendors or startups or any partnership, we should follow the same, inculcate the same decision-making parameters, or inculcate the same set of culture when they go through that process. So if it means just correlating, like even in our companies, you will see a lot of contractors being hired. And especially now, you have to live by it because you have Gen Z and you have the gig economy coming up. So they're all going to be there for a short durations, but you yet need to make them an extended arm. So I think those were thoughts in terms of following the same queue, parameters, processes, SOPs, so that the partnership with our vendors, etc., feels as if they're an extended arm of our own team. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions here for this group? So I just had a question. Any one of you in this audience who uses a partner in a critical area versus just staff org, and you have any perspective on the question there? Anybody in the group?
We do use vendor, and I think that's what the example that was given out there. Very critical part of our operations is compliance operations, and we do use work with a third party. Couple of reasons. One is speed of execution becomes extremely good. Two is the space is a little, I would say, commodity. The turnover, employee turnover is pretty high. It helps when you have a vendor there who can bring in fresh talent very quickly at speed, at scale, and not slow the whole engine down. So the ownership, the decision was entirely upon us in the GCC of whether to build an in-house team or whether to use a third party when we were building that capability. So and when we placed the proposal with with the reasons and the pros and cons, I think everybody understood it. You just need to put the right business case in front.
Thanks, Adi. Thank you. All right, group 3.
Before we go to group 3, on the
My bad.
on the question you asked about critical collaboration, I think I just have a comment. When you talk, and it sort of pays into question 3, right? How do you build trust? But that said, I think when AI sort of grew beyond just being a buzzword, and companies started experimenting, and there was not enough talent in-house, at least that's what I experienced, and you started partnering with some of the ones who were leading the way, and they were executing critical parts. Just to answer your question, so I think what was important was to emphasize the cost of failure in those days. Because even though we were running technology operations here, there was still a global HQ with eyes pinned on India, watching what would the outcome be. And that outcome could have impacted or accelerated or decelerated the speed of innovation that gets delivered from here.
Great point. Really great point. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll get to the next question. All right, I think it's you people again. Thank
Okay,
you.
I think on question number 3, building trust across unequal partners. So, wide variety of people were part of this group. So we have people from FinTech, Delta Capital, ETS, from education and testing background and software, 3M, I think post this we all know it, but they do much more. Teva Pharma, and I'm from automotive product development and been in automotive product development for decades now. And I think the term unequal partners already signify the need for building trust. And what we collectively discussed are some of the points that I'm going to share with you. So I think it's important, and somebody made a great point there on question number 1, that you have to recognize that there is a value to be created for each of the partners. So when you get into a partnership, if you have a good understanding of what that value is, what that value proposition is, then there is a better chance of a successful collaboration. Acknowledging the value that the other partner gets from the relationship is the basis of trust. When you look at trust equation, so incidentally, I personally work with companies that had centuries of legacy in product development. But when I heard some of the views, so I think credibility was important in one way. So when you're choosing a partner, you first go for credibility. Are they credible? Do they have the legacy, the background? Can they do the work? Of course, this is changing now with AI, right? With new age technologies and the spike in old companies having stronger focus on innovating with new age companies, which are startups. But that said, identifying the objectives clearly led to better outcomes with partnership. When you make a partnership, what do you expect? You expect an outcome. So reliability of getting results delivered. Let me take an example that was shared on the table. A large company wanting to start technology operations in India, had the credibility to go for one of the big fives as a service partner, got them as a service partner, in a year switched to another company which was not in the big five partner space, for the very reason that though they got a big five as a partner, but the reliability, the delivery of services was not there because the account was too small. Yeah, I don't know how many of you have seen this and made a switch, but this is one of the criteria. So ability to deliver services. So when, let's say, a product company looks for a partner, a service partner, whether it's from a talent arbitrage perspective, cost arbitrage perspective, or driving the innovation index perspective, the reliability starts trumping the credibility, because in the end, a company may be very tall, but if they are not delivering consistently on your objectives, you really don't care in this world, because there are too many options out there. Working on startups, we had a great example from Delta Capital. You want to talk about it?
It's actually Delta Capital. Yeah. So we are a financial consulting firm, and we started our operations in 2021 during COVID. We're a very small firm, about 200 people now. But when we started initially, our scale was even smaller. So it was very difficult to find partners who could work with us. Like even buying insurance for employees was a challenge. Buying insurance, which was non-health insurance, was a challenge. To go to an insurance company and ask them for something, they say, "Oh, you're too small. We don't have a ticket size for you." So sort of. We started looking, and we found insurance aggregators in the market who could insure one life to 1,000 lives. And we started finding value in dealing with them. So it was a mutually benefit sort of situation, because they wanted to build a client book. They wanted to have more and more lives insured under them, and otherwise as well. And we wanted a partner who could be nimble, who could understand our sort of needs and just bring in what we wanted on the table. So we worked with them. They brought the nimbleness of being a startup, but there were issues in terms of delivery. So we worked with them in terms of the kind of delivery we wanted. So it became a mutually beneficial solution. Another example was employee transportation. Again, we don't have scale, so it almost became, in a city like Bangalore, you have to provide transport to employees to come into the office. So it became very difficult for us to manage the fleet. So we partnered with now Blue Smart's not there anymore. We partnered with Blue Smart in terms of employee transportation, again a startup. And They were again fantastic in terms of security and other things it provided, and half the cost. So again, we started finding avenues where we could build trust with them, get them to the table, and create services which would be mutually beneficial. I think that is where the trust factor kind of came in. Yeah, and then in terms of the transparency and the joy in risk sharing, it is all about laying down what you want from the very start. If you are not clear on your objectives, or if you're not clearly laying down what is the expectation from the relationship, there will be issues in that. So as clear as you can be, it helps both the parties kind of achieve the results. So that's the example I wanted to share.
Thank you, Pranav. And to close on, I think what's working with startups, the experience the group here had was, I think for larger scale GCCs, don't burden a startup with your processes and methods. So you have to act as a shield if you want them as a partner, irrespective of whether you get benefits out of them or not. So that's one. And have regular review of the collaboration and let your partner know very openly what you think about the collaboration. I think that will help course correct any deviations that are happening in the expectations. Yeah, so that's pretty much it from this table.
Thank you. I'm not going to open it for questions because I want to ensure everybody gets a chance to present. I'm going to go to group number 4, integration challenges, plugging it into the enterprise. This is really where it makes enterprise difference. Group number 4, please.
Yeah. So mine is group number 4, and the question was integration challenges, plunging startups into the enterprise fabric. As we know, and we have a group of 4. I have my colleagues from X4, Krishna Murthy, and then I have from Air Products, Prashant and Neelam. Right, so 4 of us had discussed about this this question of integration challenges, plunging startups into enterprise fabric. And as we know, startups and the organized GCCs, they operate in 2 different kind of environments, right? Startups are much more agile, much more, speed centric, whereas GCCs are operating in a much more structured environment. So in terms of the differences between the 2 setups, startups are very fast in terms of taking decisions. So speed is much more important for them. But for the GCCs, we have listed down that the structured approach is much more important, and that requires them to do the compliances, do the internal audits, do the SOX controls, whereas those kind of scenarios may not be relevant for the startups because they are much more speed-driven and looking for the innovation and the drive for the growth. So this is one process-centric approach which seems to be different for the startup ecosystem and for the structured GCCs. The other different aspects that we had discussed and listed out is the talent retention risks. We do foresee and we do actually see that startups have larger risks as compared to the structured GCCs. Startups, as you know, the work scenario or the work environment tends to cause a lot of burnout for the people who are working for the startups because of the speed focus. Whereas in the GCCs, in a structured environment, the retention risk is relatively low. We have seen that there are team members, in fact in my team also, who have been there with the company for more than 5 years, and there are a number of them. Whereas in the startups, when we interact with the people generally at large, we see that the tenure is relatively less. We see people with 6 months of experience also exploring opportunities outside. So startups have a kind of a different kind of challenges, and the structured GCCs are operating in a kind of a relatively stable environment. So we think that these are the differences where the startups and the GCCs can work together to look for a common ground.
Thanks. Okay, listen, I'm being told we have 5 minutes or maybe, 5 minutes? I'll ask you to vote. We can do 2 more, hopefully. Which are the ones you guys want to cover? That's Number 6. Number 6, and we'll do one more, guys. I apologize. The rest can kind of have a discussion at the bar. I promise I'll buy the booze. Or my boss will.
Good evening, everyone. In the interest of time, we will make a quick rush. And as you can see, the question is around anatomy of a successful three-way partnership. So what we felt was, we will give you 3 points and 2 cautions before I go and talk about those 3 points. One, these are all only perspectives. There's nothing right or wrong here. And the second one, we are not going to quote any company as such. So let's be an open discussion across industries and domains. The first point is, the moment you go for GCCs and three-way partnerships, we have to be very clear in our strategy with respect to the business needs, the core and non-core. And when I say core and non-core, it cannot be based on the technology. So something like Excel is the core, which I'll do, and I'll give the Power BI and Tableau to the GCC. So that's not the thing we are talking about here. It's more on what is the business need. So you define the core and non-core and start with the non-core and move on. So that's the first point. Second one, we have to be very clear in the proportion in which the partnership is going to operate. It cannot be a full-fledged staff work model. You are not able to hire, your TA team is at risk, let's start a GCC and get some resources. That cannot be the solution. So it has to be a clear indication like maybe a 70-30 to start with and then move along like 80-20 or even 90-10. So that's the second point. And the third point is, we have to understand more than IQ, EQ plays a critical role when there's a partnership. So the emotional quotient, we can't just keep on increasing the size like 10,000, 20,000 and all of a sudden chuck off 10% of the whole company, which will have a negative impact at large. So as long as we maintain these 3 things, we can have a successful collaboration. And thanks to my wonderful team here for bringing these points. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Okay, last presentation. Who wants to go for it?
I know it's going to be a rapid fire. We are answering question number 7, stalwarts of co-panelists. The question that we have is what's the evolution path from one of the pilots, platform collaboration? So we discussed that I think GCC has the business use case and they have to define the value. The agility of innovation and risk-taking capabilities in terms of playing around with new models, softwares will come from these startups. And the service providers will bring in the art of system integrations and scalability of the solutions. And once this is successful, the second step where we will be leading ahead, actually building an IP and taking the GTM, with the consent of the parent GCC, if that is successful in a specific industry like a CPG or a pharma or a life science retail, if the platform has given the value for the GCC can definitely work with the service provider and provide the value-driven profit sharing for the startups and the service place, the outcome being owned by the GCC. That's the model that we thought about. We discussed about a lot of points, a lot of examples, but I'm trying to keep it short. If anyone has questions, they can reach out to this team because they have tested and tried this model. This is not a hypothetical thing. Thank you.
All right. Listen, guys, sorry, I wish we could do all 8. I think the deal is that we don't open the bar till you guys finish on there, and that's when the bar opens. But again, thanks a lot. Great audience. I appreciate your time and the insights. Thank you very much.